Hello and welcome to another standard video here in the Foundations metagame. Today we're trying out a black-green Deathtouch Toxic deck as suggested by my supporters on Patreon, playing the full set of Fynn the Fangbearer, which has been reprinted in Foundations, a 1/3 with Deathtouch, saying whenever a creature we control with Deathtouch deals combat damage to a player, that player gets 2 poison counters, and that's for each Deathtouch creature hitting the opponent. So if you've got lots of cheap Deathtouch creatures, Fynn can win you the game very quickly. Now of course we're not playing it as a commander here, so we don't always have access to it. So instead of building our deck entirely around Fynn, we've got other ways to apply poison as well. But one of the better ones to pair with Fynn is the Skull Dweller at 1 mana, as it both has Deathtouch and Toxic 1, so curving Skull Dweller into a turn 2 Fynn and hitting the opponent will result in 3 poison, 1 from Toxic, 2 from Fynn's ability, so that's a great way to get started. Then we also have the full set of Venerated Rot Priest, which is good at punishing opposing spot removal spells, as the opponent will still get poison from the Rot Priest, can even target your own creatures sometimes to trigger the Rot Priest's ability. And then moving up the curve at 3 mana, we've got Bloated Contaminator, 4/4 Trampler with Toxic 1, and when it deals combat damage to a player, we get to Proliferate. It's another way to apply more poison to the opponent. And topping off our curve, Necrogen Rot Priest, a 1/5 with Toxic 2, and whenever a creature we control with Toxic deals combat damage to a player, that player gets an additional poison counter. And for 3 mana, a creature we control with Toxic gains Deathtouch until end of turn. It's also quite synergistic with Fynn, allows all our creatures to attack past the opponent, and Deathtouch plus Trample is also quite synergistic, as we only need to apply 1 Deathtouch Trample damage to each blocker, and then the rest can trample over, so Contaminator is more likely to actually proliferate. And then rounding out the deck, we've got a bunch of removal. A lot of those removal spells also let us proliferate, so another way to apply more poison. Whisper, giving a creature -1/-1 until end of turn. Good on 1 toughness creatures, but also good in combination with the Rot Priest, just to apply more poison. And then at 2 mana, we've got Infectious Bite, which is great with Deathtouch creatures like Skull Dweller and Fynn, as we get to take out opposing creatures no matter how large they get, and we also get to apply an extra poison. And then Drown in Ichor, giving -4/-4 until end of turn at sorcery speed, and we also get to proliferate. And then Anoint with Affliction is pretty good in the current meta, where there's a lot of creatures worth exiling, but with Corrupted enabled, aka the opponent has 3 or more poison, we also get to exile a creature no matter how large it is, as opposed to just mana value 3 or less, so very flexible and especially powerful in a poison deck. And then we also have a bit of card draw with Infectious Inquiry, drawing 2 at the cost of 2 life, but the opponent also gets a poison counter, so still contributes towards our poison plan. And then the mana base has a few lands with useful abilities. The Seed Core is good mana fixing to cast our Phyrexians, which is most of our toxic creatures, and then we can potentially pump up a 1/1 creature, giving it +2/+1 until end of turn if we have Corrupted enabled, so that can pump up a Skull Dweller, or perhaps a 1/1 Might token from Mirrex, which gives us a bit more late game by pumping out additional 1/1 tokens with Toxic 1. And then Cavern of Souls can make our Phyrexians uncounterable, especially useful for the more expensive creatures like Contaminator and the Necrogen Rot Priest, which feels pretty bad if those get countered. And then we've got some additional mana fixing, since we do still need black and green mana to cast some of our removal spells, which don't get to take advantage of a Cavern or a Seed Core. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the play with a very promising hand. Got Skull Dweller into Fynn, opening to maybe immediately apply 3 poison on turn 2. And then some nice leftovers. So hopefully no removal or blockers. Mountain, that's bad news. And a shock. Alright, so not the start we were hoping for. But at least Contaminator is pretty beefy, so harder for the red deck to deal with. They also seem to have a 3 damage effect for Fynn. So yeah, the burn deck kind of playing the control role, which you don't often see. But at least they had to use a lot of burn spells on our creatures instead of going face. And now Contaminator is a bit more difficult for them to answer. Alright, opponent's gonna double shock. Man, I wish we had a Rot Priest in play. That would have been 2 poison. But yeah, opponents had to 2-for-1 themselves. And now we get to play double Rot Priest. A little bit late to the party, but Yeah, still a creature that they'll have to respect. Swiftspear probably playing defense here. So now we wouldn't mind drawing some removal. Although opponent's still on 0 poison somehow. So if our removal proliferates, it doesn't proliferate yet. Opponent's actually attacking. So they either plan to take out a Rot Priest or they have another blocker. Boros Charm goes face. Pretty aggressive. And now Fynn, not a bad top deck. So attack, hit for 2 poison. Could have maybe played Swamp in case Infectious Inquiry draws into more expensive spells. Now they're forced to Lightning Helix Fynn to get past it, but they're taking 2 poison. And our opponent's down to 1 card in hand. So, yeah, I'm not sure these Swiftspears are actually outracing the Rot Priests. Opponent at 6 poison. A Lava Runner, 2/2 haste, so probably the better target for Annoyance. And yeah, opponent drew another one. They have been lucky to remain on 3 lands. So I can take 5, anointing the Swiftspear on defense, put him to 8 poison. But then we kind of just die on the following turn. If I exile a Lava Runner, I take 3 down to 6. But then any way to trigger Prowess is pretty bad for us too. Yeah, I think it's still exile Lava Runner for now. Hope to draw another Contaminator. Whisper's interesting, so that lets me attack, finish off the Swiftspear, and proliferate. Whispering my own Rot Priest, also a way to apply 2 poison. So yeah, either way I could let damage happen for now. So opponent's at 7 poison, and yeah, if we Whisper our own Rot Priest now, 2 poison from the Rot Priest triggers, 1 more from Proliferate. And that's game over. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Our hand seems fine. Double Skull Dweller to start out. Top decking Fynn would be awesome. And we can keep up the pressure with Contaminator. Vote on blue-white. Don't know which variety. Could be the Oculus variant, could be a more controlling deck. Cavern could mean that they're on some sort of multicolored domain deck as well. Opponent passes. So we'll see if they have removal or maybe a Prankster to mill more cards. It's going to be a Get Lost to Skull Dweller. So now maybe Contaminator can survive. And yeah, Hedge Maze, so probably an Overlord domain deck. They have 3 basic land types, so a 3-mana Leyline Binding at the moment. Fynn was a nice draw. Does not seem like they have any instant speed removal, so I can try proliferating on the Contaminator, so we can proliferate the +1 counter if we hit it. And Inquiry seems okay to keep. And then 2 more poison from Fynn. Contaminator proliferates both counter and poison, opponent's at 7. So yeah, doesn't take much from here. Lockdown was probably one of their better plays, but we still have a Contaminator, which can put him to 8, and then 9, and then Inquiry wins the game. And yeah, opponent knows about it and concedes. Awesome, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. What do we think of our hand? Does need to draw a 3rd land, but once we do, it's not that bad. Yeah, I'll try it. Turn 1 Swamp Duress, takes our Inquiry. Draw another one. Still need lane 3. Turn 2 Fynn would also be acceptable. And opponent's gonna answer Skull Dweller right away. Anoint would have also answered Contaminator, so they must have more answers in hand. Annex to start drawing. So their opponent's definitely ahead. But we can curve out, and then with the Deathtouch from Rot Priest we can attack into any demons they might present. And then, yeah, we want to main phase it, so we get additional poison from Contaminator hitting them. Opponent without an answer so far. Might win with damage before we win with poison, we'll see. I see. Deadly cover-up to wipe the board. Explains kind of why they were being so passive. I think it's still Contaminator here, and then next turn we can refuel. Even though Inquiry has a chance of drawing into a cheaper card, we still get to deploy. Alright, now another Duress is unfortunate. And shoot to Sheriff Contaminator. So yeah, this game's not really going to plan. Opponent still hasn't made a demon, so that can gain them more life. So let's Inquiry. And we did find some goodies. Possible our opponent had a 2-mana counterspell in hand, so then it might be better to double 1-drop. Start with Rot Priest, and get Spell Stuttered, and then Skull Dweller sets up Fynn to apply more poison. Opponent finally makes a demon. Ooh, Infectious Bite, that was an awesome top deck. So goodbye demon. And then for what it's worth I could activate the Seed Core in case we end up winning with regular damage. But that's 3 more poison. So their opponent's at 8. Let's see if they can stabilize from here. Shoot the Sheriff is a good starter. And Rot Priest is technically game over here if they have nothing. A Fairy Mastermind. Yeah, that can trade even with the Seed Core pumping Skull Dweller. It's only +2/+1. So their opponent can trade. And another Mastermind end of turn. Not the best blocker for the Rot Priest. But yeah, it's only a matter of time until they play another demon. And they might be combining Excruciator with Jace to mill us out next turn. Did not draw what we were hoping for. So yeah, what's the hope here? Their opponent doesn't have a Jace in hand. But I feel like they do, because they had a few turns where they didn't do anything. So yeah, I could technically trade Rot Priest for Excruciator. But with Annex they would end up milling first regardless. So yeah, I guess we'll attack. I mean, possible the Excruciator was their only option. And then we can activate. Put the demon first. But I expect Jace here. Yep, that's game. Yeah, we got close. 8 poison. The Inquiries getting Duressed ended up making a pretty huge difference. Because we were lacking those extra cards. And that'll do it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a triple Rot Priest special. I'll keep. Cannot quite play Drown at the moment, since we don't have black mana for it. And Infectious Bite is missing a creature with Deathtouch. But how can I turn this hand down? I'll play double Rot Priest before attacking, on the off chance that they have an Elspeth's Smite, that way they would take more poison. And our opponent explodes. I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. Our hand seems fine. Skull Dweller into Infectious Bite is a good curve, assuming Skull Dweller survives. And then turn 3 we have several options. Facing red. Okay. We'll see if they have a burn spell for Skull Dweller. It's gonna be a Slick Shot, okay. So don't mind taking it, and then Infectious Bite, an answer to the Slick Shot. Now Whisper, also an answer to the hero. So we have options. It's risky to let them untap, because if they have a burn spell, then the Infectious Bite may not work out. So I don't think I risk it and just take out Slick Shot now. Swiftspear is next. Contaminator as a 4/4 is a decent blocker. Opponent's got Bane Splitters, so Heartfire will enable Valiant, so no longer dies to Whisper now. Alright, let's try Contaminator. Might want to keep Skull Dweller back to block the Heartfire. That is threatening a lot of damage, and I would rather keep Contaminator alive. So the trade happens. We're at 8. And our opponent plots another Slick Shot. So we're probably not in a position to lose 2 life to the Inquiry. We'll just attack and then cast another Contaminator, keep up Whisper to shrink their creature down. And proliferate. So our opponent's at 4 poison. Seed Core is active for any future Skull Dwellers we might pick up. Opponent plotting a Demonic Ruckus. They could have just cast it right away, so they're planning something else. The attack with the Swiftspear's intriguing, so they might have like a Monstrous Rage, which would grow this up to 5 power, so then Whisper is still not enough to let the Contaminator survive, but honestly, we're fine with a trade at that point. It's going to be a Blazing Crescendo instead. Alright, so still trades. And Slickshot taking cast the next turn with a Ruckus. So that'll trigger both Slick Shots, so yeah, we're in trouble. Needed a slightly different top deck. So yeah, we're guaranteed to die if our opponent just casts the 2 cards in exile. So I guess I may as well Inquiry, see if we find something useful off of it. A Rot Priest also doesn't quite do it. So attack, proliferates. And then if I Whisper my own Rot Priests, I can apply 2 more poison, so we're just 1 shy. If our opponent were to cast a burn spell on my creature somehow, but yeah, that's not happening. So yeah, very close. Opponent's at 9 poison, but couldn't quite get there in time. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We've got a triple Rot Priest opener again. Mirex makes things a little awkward, but I'll still try it. Name Phyrexian. And then on the play as well, also a big deal. Opponent on green-white. Uh-oh. And they have a Might Caller, so that can next turn maybe block the Rot Priests, but Whisper of the Dross was an epic top deck. So now I can play not a Rot Priest. Attack, opponent's likely gonna take it. And then Whisper, take out Might Caller while proliferating. Although that being said, with triple Rot Priests, Whisper could potentially apply 4 poison if we target our own creature. And now Phineas, so we are at an impasse. And it's not like our opponent's going to be targeting our creatures all that much. Another Might Caller. And Phineas attacks. Yeah, we'll double block. Can even triple block. Might Caller, not a rabbit, so didn't actually pick up any counters, so now we're good to attack again. And this Cavern of Souls Mirrex mana base is killing me. Another Might Caller grows the first one. So both decks with an incredibly awkward opening. Stuck on 2 lanes. And now with Eleanor Wastes we have a bunch more options. Infectious Bite, a great way to trigger the Rot Priest as well. So we could take out Might Caller, apply 2/3 poison. Feels like we are still better off casting the Inquiry and hoping to find a Deathtouch creature to synergize with Bite, and there's Fynn. A Warren Guard missing a token. And our opponent's just terrified, playing defense. Can't blame them. Don't have any amazing attacks, even if we clear 1 Might Caller. So it's probably just Inquiry again to try and hit some more land drops. Alright, so next turn we can double spell at long last. Opponent found their 3rd land. Maybe they can make some tokens that will make it more annoying, and yeah, hop to it, making 3 rabbits. Growing the Might Callers a bunch. So they can start attacking now, and the tokens protect them from the Rot Priests. Double blocking Warren Guard an option. 8 plus 6, 14, so yeah, I kind of have to. Alright, so opponent's at 6 poison. 3 1/1 blockers, can remove 2 of them, applying a bit of poison in the process, but that still has them chumping the Rot Priest and surviving. Is there any way I can play Fynn and then pass with Infectious Bite to survive? They just have too much trample, so that's not gonna work. So is there any way out? Can't quite drown and Annoyed to get rid of both Might Callers. Plus we also have a Pain Land we need to deal with. So is there anything we can do? Infectious Bite does apply 2 poison, 1 from Rot Priest plus 1 more from the card itself. So I guess we'll start here. And then now if we were to drown a rabbit token, opponent's at 9 poison, but they can chump Rot Priest to survive. But Rot Priest has an ability. Target my own Rot Priest, apply poison, and then proliferate up to 10. Alright, so we found lethal. Took a second, but this was kind of a fun puzzle to solve. And despite both decks having kind of an awkward start, it was still a pretty interesting game in the end. Okay, we're on the play. We've got a keepable hand, assuming that Whisper lines up, and our opponent's got some 1 toughness creatures. A Rot Priest on 1 is always exciting. And then we should be more or less guaranteed 1 poison, which sets up Whisper to proliferate it. Opponent black-white. Next turn we can drop Contaminator and a Splitskin, so it is a Reanimator deck. At least Whisper can clear a path here, so that's good. And what creature are they gonna try and get back? is maybe what they're deciding. Valgavoth, that's a good one. At least the life gain doesn't really stop our poison plan too much. But yeah, turn 4 we can expect Valgavoth to hit the battlefield. So, still gonna be kind of an uphill battle. Liliana. At this point, keep Contaminator since that can apply 2 poison by just attacking. But yeah, I don't really want to finish off Liliana as a problem. I'll play Blooming Marsh, can discard the Swamp. If we really have to, we could always drown our own Contaminator just to proliferate, but hopefully that can wait. Alright, it's gonna be an Overlord, so no Valgavoth. And then now we've got more targets for our removal. So we'll proliferate up to 7 before attacking, and then with Contaminator, our opponent's gonna be at 9 poison. So we just need one more proliferate card, basically. Should have also proliferated the counter on the Overlord, by the way. Fynn the draw. Alright, so take out your creature, proliferate, make sure to proliferate the time counter now too. And then we're empty-handed. And proliferate the time counter once more. Can they finally return Valgavoth? I mean, if they had the opportunity, they probably would have done so last turn. Alright, Besiege the Mirror, I guess can get it done, sacking the Overlord and getting some 4 mana reanimation effect. Nope, I guess either our opponent messed up or they got a card that's more than 4 mana that they couldn't cast for free, but I'll take it. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, hands promising. Given that we have 2 black 1-drops, I probably want to play one right away. Even though in the face of removal, Rot Priest first makes some amount of sense. But now I'll be able to curve Rot Priest plus Whisper. Happy that our opponent attacked. Ooh, Fynn, that's the perfect top deck. Now we get to apply 3 poison right away. Another reason to play Skull Dweller turn 1. Alright, let's see how Mono Red deals with the poison deck. Removal for Fynn is probably a good starting point, but you don't often see Mono Reds having to play defense. Challenger, yeah, doesn't line up very well. Awesome. So if I attack with Skull Dweller, we can hope that they block with Swiss Spear, so Whisper can shrink it down. That's gonna be the play. They could also try and double block Fynn, but that's not gonna work out well for them. Right, opponent's trying. So we could just take out the Challenger. So yeah, we can just Whisper the Swiss Spear. And then put Challenger first. And still play a Rot Priest. Opponent's at 7 poison already. And our opponent's gonna explode. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. We've got a lot riding on Fynn surviving, but with Infectious Bite, it's got some good removal to go with it, so we'll try. Can even make it uncounterable if we're afraid of a counter, but since we're on the play, that shouldn't be the case. Opponent's a green-white, maybe a rabbit deck. Yep, Paw Patch Recruit. Kind of punishes us for trying to target it. Might have been reasonable to just Cavern name Human here to save myself 1 damage, since we should have the mana fixing for Phyrexians. At least Fynn naturally attacks into the Recruit. So, what's the plan? Attack with Fynn, and our opponent's probably gonna take it. And then we have some instant speed options available too. Could also drown the Mentor now, while it's still within range. And we'll get to proliferate, and then these should be better than any of our other removal spells going forward. Could also take out the recruit now so they don't get any additional counters. That's also fine. Sure. So our opponent might be able to make some rabbit tokens, grow Mentor, but then we can still finish it off no matter how large it gets. Maybe means taking a bit more damage now. Yep, opponent's got hop to it turn 3, at least not enough creatures to convoke a Knight Errant. And then I'm happy if our opponent tries to triple block Fynn, or are we? I mean, they're probably going to try, and then I'll be forced to maybe Infectious Bites. And they're just going to chump. So now Drown can finish off the Mentor again, and leave instant speed removal available. So we're slowly making progress. Opponent's got more tokens. That's pretty annoying when you've got a 1/3 Deathtouch. And now Knight Errant. I'm actually happy that they tapped out to convoke, since now we get to Infectious Bites and hit for 2 more poison. So I intentionally did not take out their tokens to potentially deny this play. But our top decks have not really cooperated. So probably need to annoyance the Mentor, which is going to be huge. Opponent's still at 7 poison, so Infectious Inquiry into more Proliferate is kind of what we're hoping for now. Quest Caller also probably a must answer, since it bumps up all their rabbits. Opponent's gonna leave 1 token back, just in case. Nope, multiple tokens. So they're definitely playing it safe, but I'm still gonna exile the Quest Caller here. And then I can still play Mentor, but at least I would trade for Fynn. Seed Core's not doing much, since it only pumps 1/1s. Alright, Inquiry, that's exactly what we needed. May as well cast that first, in case we find some removal spell we can still cast. Can name Phyrexian. And another Inquiry. So opponent's going to be chumping Fynn with a 1/1, but then I still take a lethal on the way back. So that's a problem. So I guess I can't really attack. And if I cast Inquiry, I fall to 6. And then we're definitely dead on board. Yeah, this is awkward. So I guess we just pass and then hope they don't go for lethal, and then next turn Inquiry into another Proliferate effect can win me the game. But if they have a way to pump the team, I'm dead. Another Mentor's fine. And a Warren Guard. So we'll see. Yeah, opponent's just going for it. That would be 9 trample, so yeah, that's enough. GG's. Got very close, just needed 1 more turn here. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a keepable hand. A Rot Priest into Fynn. Contaminator on 3, and a bit of removal to clear path. Turn 1 Swamp. Yeah, let's attack. There's somewhat of an argument against a removal-heavy deck to play another Rot Priest before Fynn, but there's a chance we can actually connect and apply 2 poison here. Opponent's actually going for Rot Priest first, which sort of implies that there's more removal incoming. But playing Contaminator's a lot more mana efficient than playing a Rot Priest here. So it's a close call. Yeah, I think it's gonna be Contaminator. Right, go for the Throat Fynn, but at least Contaminator will get to connect. And then we still have a Rot Priest left over. Now we can anoint at instant speed. And we also have Mirex as a late game activation. Slasher, yeah, that's fine. Just exile it with anoint. Could see them cut down their own Slasher in response, so it doesn't get exiled. But then they're not cutting down the Rot Priest, so that's fine by me. So that works. Attack, put him to 9 poison, and then I could even drown my own creature just to trigger Rot Priest and proliferate onto the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Hand's quite promising. I've got a 1-2-3 curve involving Fynn. And the Rot Priest on 1 is always nice to have. On the play as well, so it doesn't get much better. Heartfire Hero we can attack into. And then I think it's still Fynn on 2, which also enables Infectious Bite. Opponent's jumping. Don't see that every day. And a Scamp is next. So now if they also have a pump spell, they could try and trade for multiple creatures. Just double Scamp. So interesting turn. So Rot Priest only triggers off spells and not abilities. So the Scamp targeting it doesn't matter. You can still attack with Fynn. And then we'll see if they want to chump. I don't think Rot Priest wants to just trade for a Scamp. I guess they want to try and take out Fynn, which, yeah, I guess could work now. So that was probably a reason to still attack with Rot Priest anyway, so they have to take one more poison that way. And I will just take it. They can still pump Scamp, maybe take out Contaminator. But at least we won't lose both creatures. Yeah, Rot Priest sadly not triggering off abilities makes a difference in this matchup. Looks like they're just taking out the Priest. Now I get to play the Rot Priest, the 4-mana one. So Contaminator can potentially start dealing even more poison damage as well. So their opponent up to 3. And yeah, just gonna take it. We could be dead to double pump spell plus Sellsword, but doesn't seem to be the case. It's just gonna be Sellsword, Contaminator. Opponent's down to 1 card in hand, and it's a Swiss Spear. That we can handle. So Rot Priest can gain Deathtouch. If they were to block, could also just activate and then Infectious Bite to clear a path. Seems fine. Although, are we upset if our opponent chumps? Yeah, I guess that's annoying because I don't get to play Inquiry and use the ability, so I may as well have a more mana efficient turn. So that's 3 more poison. And then Inquiry can hopefully close it out. And our opponent explodes. Awesome. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play, and yeah, lots of cheap 1-mana creatures is what we like to see. And I might actually start with the Rot Priest in case our opponent opens with removal, so we'll at least get 1 poison out of it. Blue-black, and yeah, looks like a cut down. Unable to scream, in fact. Alright. So, liking double Skull Dweller. So next turn Fynn can potentially apply a bunch of poison. Don't think we have a way to remove the enchantments. Alright, let's give it a try. Opponent playing red as well. This might be some sort of Demonic Pact deck. Playing all the alternate win condition cards. But yeah, that's already 7 poison, thanks to Fynn. Alright, and that'll do it. Awesome. So yeah, we got to see this black-green toxic Deathtouch deck in action, and when Fynn can actually stick the landing, it can feel very powerful, but it doesn't happen often enough. There's just too many decks in Standard that have access to a ton of removal, so that makes it really difficult for all these toxic synergies to come to fruition. And yeah, I would not recommend this as a particularly competitive choice, but if you're maybe trying to assemble a poison deck in paper, this should be relatively inexpensive to put together, and should play well in kind of a more casual setting, but not really a deck I would recommend for the arena ladder. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. I want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.